What's up, Utah State fans? Welcome to the first ever Front Row Network YouTube opponent preview. I'm your host, Blake Hadfield of USU Junkies. The wait is finally coming to a close. Thursday is around the corner, and Utah State is back in action for the 2013 campaign. I think this fan base is more excited now than we have ever been. Utah State is coming off its best football season ever, and we return a whole wealth of talent. You all know that. To add to that, we are entering a new conference, an exciting conference, and we're ready to roll. To further add to the excitement for this first game, we travel down to Rice-Eccles Stadium to face the Utah Utes of the Pac-12, who last year we finally beat after well over a decade. We took care of business at home. We've taken care of business at home against BYU in 2010. We're showing that we can do these things at home against our big in-state rivals. The question now becomes, can we start to do it on the road as well? And we get to see that. We get to find out this Thursday night in Rice-Eccles Stadium, which, for one magical night, will be striped. Huge move on their part because nothing says intimidating like a giant candy cane. The Utes of the Pac-12 are kind enough to dress half of their fan base in Aggie fighting white, so that should be exciting. I worry that it might not work out that well. They're calling it a stripe the stadium, and I'm concerned that some of the fans are going to think that that means suspender the stadium, interpret it that way. The other thing is, they got the red stripe. I'm worried they might just think that that's the beer. So we'll have to see how it works. The other thing I'm curious about, we don't have any details on this at this time. Generally, when a fan base dresses, color coordination, that matches the uniforms that the players are wearing, that the players are using. We don't really know what those uniforms are going to be. We do have, though, some great conceptual artists on our staff here at the Front Row Network, and they have come up with this artist rendering of what we think it might end up looking like. I don't really know. I'll have to get with my boy Waldo. I don't want to sound like Stephen A. Smith, but Waldo is a very dear, dear friend of mine. Anytime he's preparing for a new book, he asks me where he should go and hide. We're very dear friends. And I just don't know how he's going to feel about them dressing like that for this game. So Utah, one thing they will not be doing is hiding their talent. The Utes of the Pac-12, they do have always a wealth of talent. They do, that being said, have to reload like any other football team does in college. Especially the big one that comes to mind, they have to replace a certain star that's not on their roster this year. You all know exactly who I'm talking about. Go ahead and say it with me. Jordan Wynn. Right? He's gone. They need to replace him. The guy that's taking over that role is Travis Wilson. And Travis Wilson is a good runner. He has some good size. The thing with his passing, last year in the games that he played in, his touchdown to turnover ratio was 7 touchdowns to 6 turnovers. He only averaged 109 passing yards per game, and he had 0 fourth quarter touchdowns as a quarterback. I mean, this guy appears to be the Dave Baldwin of fourth quarter quarterbacking. He does have a great receiving core around him. Kenneth Scott is a tremendous receiver. We don't really know a lot about, they're replacing John White at the running back position. We don't know for sure what we'll see out of that group here. Moving on to the defensive side of the ball, Utah of the Pac-12, they love to tote a great defense, and they've had some great defenses out on the field. They have a wealth of talent. We can't pin down a lot of what's happening on their defense either at this point in the year. Seems like every fall camp report after every practice, the roster is changing, particularly in the secondary. Seems like every time you get on there, there's a whole new depth chart, and there's this guy might not play, he left with an injury. We don't really know what we're going to see out of that. Huge X factor in this game that no one seems to be talking about, especially not Utah of the Pac-12, is that the Utes are in a conference called the Pac-12. This is a good football conference, okay? I think John White summed it up the best when he said after Utah's loss at Utah State last year, it's devastating because we lost to a team that's not even a Pac-12 team. To lose to Utah State is horrible. Now, maybe it's just me, but saying that you are a good football team strictly because you are in a certain conference, that makes just as much sense as Rocky V saying, I am a good movie because I was in the Rockies. Yeah, we're in the Rockies, right? That statement to me is just as ignorant as if Kingdom of the Crystal Skull would have said, it's devastating because we lost to a movie that's not even an Indiana Jones movie. To lose to Iron Man is horrible. There's a segment that I want to do on these opponent previews where I will actually sim the game in NCAA Football 14. I've downloaded a community roster where they fix the depth charts, they name the players, they fix some ratings, and then I went ahead and added to that the ratings that our friends at the Front Row Show have provided for us on their podcast for the offensive and defensive players. So I've set the quarter length to 7 minutes for your information, and I went ahead and simmed the game. At the end of the first quarter, Utah State had jumped out to a 10-0 lead. In the second quarter, the Utes of the Pac-12 had closed the gap to 17-14 to go into half. Going into the fourth quarter, Utah State had a tremendous third quarter, and they were up 31-14. And Utah State holds on to win 31-28 in that simulation. Offensive player of the game, Travis Reynolds, 7 receptions for 136 yards and 3 touchdowns. Defensive player of the game, Kyler Fackrell, 9 tackles, 2 sacks. Now, my own prediction on this game, I'm going to say that it'll be a little bit closer, it'll be a little bit more defensive. I'm sticking with Utah State, final score of 31-24. Last thing, Aggie fans, if you're looking for a place to watch this football game, there is a movement. If you're not going down to Rice-Eccles Stadium, there's a movement on social media for a bunch of people getting together at Buffalo Wild Wings. That's an option for you. You can go enjoy the game there. Wherever you enjoy the game, make sure that you do enjoy the game. Watch it, find a friend that has the channel, or if you yourself has the channel, find an online stream. Make sure you watch this game. For those of you that are going down to the stadium, cheer loud, be proud. You have a great football team that has a great chance to win this game. It's that whole arms around concept that we are all embracing. For those of you that are traveling down to the stadium to see the Utes of the Pac-12 host Utah State, just to give you a heads up on what type of atmosphere you may expect down there, so there's no surprises. I myself have never been down there, but I've received a good referral for someone that has some knowledge on the subject. You can refer to one Max Hall. He claims to have knowledge on the subject. His family has some insight on the way that things work down there. So head on down, enjoy the game, be loud, and be classy, and try and stay dry.